last week it was how drugs work in the brain. Now I want to do how drugs change your brain, and it used to be called addiction. I don't know what to call it now, but it's still addiction. And the changes that happen in the brain and happen in parts of the brain. To me, the most important message then is the butterfly and the stone. There's an old Spanish poem that says, when a butterfly lands on a stone, when the butterfly rests on a stone, for that moment, the stone feels like a flower. It's alchemy, it's a beautiful moment, or moments of beauty. Now, I call them butterfly moments. So I have a 10. You know, when you went to Luna Park and you enjoyed a moment of being innocent child again, and I love Vito. That experience, that's a butterfly moment. Now write it down and put it in a 10. But on the 10 you put, this too will pass. Because if you learn anything from last week, the way the body experiences emotions is chemically. And when you're a child, they only last for 90 seconds. There's a thing in the brain called the reward system. And that's how we learn and put down memories. Still got a memory that is comforting. I used to smoke cigarettes. In there is a memory that these people are looking at me and I've got to say something clever. It's comforting. The reward system puts down, and the hippocampus puts down memories, develops patterning. And the reward system is dopamine. When you do something and it's pleasurable, you get a shot of dopamine. But if you just did that, you just want to stay with pleasure because we're lazy. We have a thing called endorphins, which balance and connect us to, I believe, our soul, your spirit. It's the balancing. When someone you really love and who really loves you hugs you, they're not two people, they're one. It's endorphins that does that. So it's a balancing trick. That's how we do it. And that's where the 90-second rule comes in, because when we're 2 years old, the chemistry of a feeling takes 90 seconds. Remember? We've got 100 billion nerve cells. The food we eat makes chemical messengers, crosses the gap called the synapse, hits a receptor, makes a pathway, and creates a memory. 90 seconds. But then that's got ripples, like shadows. It's not just 90 seconds because there's something else and it's very complicated, but science says 90 seconds. The lady who discovered this is Jill Bolte Taylor, a neuroscience who had a stroke, and it damaged the left hemisphere of her brain, which is language and reason and memories, and 1 and 1 are 2, that sort of stuff. As she was healing, something made her angry. And she didn't like the feeling in her body. But she remembered that this takes 90 seconds. The chemistry of a feeling is 90 seconds. Then, in an adult, it connects to every bad feeling you've ever had. And that's what changes. It's called grief or loss, or the psychologist will start calling it depression. Now there's a clever mechanism for all of this. In the middle part of the brain, there's a thing called an amygdala, which is like a lighthouse keeper that watches whether a storm is coming and something is threatening. It sends a message to the alarm centre and sends out adrenaline, fear, fright, flight. As part of the chemistry of feelings, if anything is a threat, you get the chemistry of fear. And you can get the chemistry of excitement. But that's got to be triggered off by something. And we call that the spirit or the soul. Okay? Now, the part that you need to know is when you take a drug, whether you realize it or not, any drug, sugar, alcohol, a glass of wine, anything that alters how the brain is going to tell you what it feels like changes the receptor. So the first time you use ice, you interfere with the dopamine receptor. That's the pleasure, looking forward to something, orgasm. Adrenaline is excitement, endorphin is the peacemaker, GABA is the shock absorber, glutamate is the speeder. Now ice works on the glutamate, but the minute you use a drug to change how you feel, you have an effect on the receptor from the first time you use it, because it's not made by the body. Even though it fits in the receptor, it damages it, and to protect itself, a chemical called C is developed. Now that C does two things. It creates a tolerance to protect the receptor. You've got to keep using more and more for it to start working the receptor. To balance that, another chemical called D, which creates a sensitivity in that receptor, starts developing. Then you keep using and using and using, till after a while the receptor has been changed, that our normal chemistry does nothing for it. And that's you begin to hang out. Because those chemicals not only develop tolerance, if you don't provide that receptor with those chemicals, you go into withdrawal. The better word for it is change. The receptor has changed itself so it can use these chemicals that come from outside the body. But it's changed it so much that our normal chemicals can't work it as well anymore. So when you don't use for what's called the half-life of a drug, within, let's say, 6 hours, you go into those chemicals which protected it, push you into withdrawal. And that's called addiction. Because if you don't use the chemical that's created this tolerance, the normal chemicals can't drive that receptor anymore. Your normal dopamine is not strong enough to work it. You've used ice, that's changed. Will it ever go back to normal? Sort of. It takes a long time, because this goes away. After 2 weeks of not using, the tolerance factor goes, but there's a memory of tolerance stays in your brain. We don't know what that is. It's sort of a memory. But this stays. the receptor becomes very sensitive. The amygdala becomes very sensitive. Everything is a threat. Everything is stressful. Now, that takes time to slowly get the reward system back, because what happens, especially with ice and heroin users, you've interfered with the way we normally learn through the reward system, how we put down good and bad memories.
A natural way.
Yeah. What you've done is the brain now only values comfort. I don't want to go into withdrawal. I'm hanging out. I've been held up. I'm hanging out. So the brain says, screw learning. I need comfort. I need to balance it. And it won't balance because I've destroyed the endorphin. I've destroyed the natural mechanisms in the brain. And now we're dependent on stuff from outside our body. Now, it takes a while to get that back again, because the brain develops patterns. And in that pattern, we know that after 14 days of not using, that chemical which causes withdrawal syndrome has gone. But the memory of comfort and with the router reward circuit, the brain is lost, completely lost. I mean, people talk to you and say, but you might go to jail. I might die. There's no thought mechanism, there's no reward circuit or consequence. All I want is harmony in my brain. And the only thing that can do it is chemicals are outside my body. Unless, and that's what I keep saying with the butterfly and the stone. The stone isn't a flower, but it can feel like a flower. You felt like a child for a moment, so you're capable of it. So I'm saying, forget all this. Your brain is damaged. The thing that makes it the source of your feeling can't be fear or stress, or especially a thing called the past, where you're traumatized. Because what we know is, what Freud taught us, we have a consciousness, like I'm in a room with people in it and I'm talking, that's my conscious level. But at a subconscious level, it's going, you're old and you've got cancer and you've got strain. 80% of all our triggers come from our subconscious, from the past. Now, one of the worst effects of all of this, which I watched, especially in the women's prison, we don't know how to trust. It's been taken away from us. From the past, the traumas, we thought drugs would make us feel better, but they make us feel worse. They're now taken over our brain. It's not our life anymore. Who do you trust? To me, the mechanism is I go to my heart and I care and I love and I value freedom. I don't want some bloody chemical telling me how to feel. If it was a human being, you'd punch its lights out. So I have to learn not to trust other people. I have to learn how to trust me. Because the next part of this, the middle part of the brain where most of the feelings are, there's an amygdala, an alarm center, and a hippocampus. That's the radar, that's the alarm center, that's where we panic from, and that's memories. That's become super, super sensitive. It doesn't take anything to trigger off an adrenaline step. I'm running late to pick up my kids. A stress, I might lose my kids. Instead of just being a thought, it becomes overwhelming. Now, That you've got to accept. That's a big change. Your emotional centre, it's called the amygdala, has become super sensitive. And this, we used to use drugs for blood pressure, clonidine it was called, which suppressed the alarm centre. So drug addicts wouldn't feel like, I need to use. It comes from here. We've got all sorts of drugs that'll try and calm that down. All of a sudden we're using blood pressure tablets for people with addiction. It was because they work on the alarm centre, because it also drops the adrenaline, which causes blood pressure. So you've got to understand, post the change in the brain, that part of your brain has become super sensitive. So, how do we get this back? We get endorphins from our lungs. So, the breath. The 90-second rule is breathe in for 5, through your nose, because the nerves in the nose are connected to the amygdala. That's why yoga breathes through the nose. It calms you down. The diaphragm is connected to the vagus nerve, which also calms us down. So when you put the diaphragm in rhythm, you're calm. That's why we rock a baby. Yeah. The rhythm calms the chemistry down. So the breath does two things. Through the nose, and the more you breathe, the more you get endorphins. The other way you get endorphins is you tell yourself, I'm going to take care of myself. I'm going to have breakfast. I'm going to exercise. So when you honour an intention, it's called satisfaction. It comes from Latin, complete. When you do something complete. My dad was a shoemaker. When he finished a shoe, he would just look at it. You get a sense of satisfaction. You get endorphins. They don't stay long because they're not used to it now. They're soap bubbles. But you start reminding the brain that there are endorphins. So, honouring, you begin to believe in yourself. So that's the pathway to trust. Doesn't matter what other people say. I know I didn't do it. I know I'm doing all I can. I know. Not my brain, I know. So eventually you begin to trust yourself. So even though the reward system is still damaged, there's another way around it. The minute you feel an uncomfortable feeling, the second you feel it, that's honouring an intention to change how you react. You do the breath. Whether it's a good feeling or a bad feeling, you do it for 90 seconds, then you distract yourself. The brain's saying, is it working? That's not the right question. Am I honouring my intention to change? When was it going to happen? I don't know. I'm on the Hume Highway going north. I'm going to Sydney. I'm heading towards freedom and trust in me and belief in me. The brain says, yeah, but I want it now. Because using drugs. You know the interesting thing? When I was in the women's prison, I put a Valium on people's tongue and they'd say, I feel better already. Takes half an hour to get to the receptor, but they were better already. You've got to use that in reverse. I'm doing something. Is it working? That's not the point. I'm doing something. The brain will confuse the shit out of you because it wants to use. Yeah. The I in here doesn't want to use, but that's as weak as. You know, I jokingly said, I don't send my 2-year-old to the supermarket with a list. She can't read and she can't carry it back. But that's what we ask you guys when you leave here. go out in that crazy world and try and deal with the bullshit with the brain that says, I can't do anything.
Yeah, it was even scary going on leave at
Thank
Christmas. It was like, I was looking at my partner and he's like, what's wrong? I go, nothing. He goes,
Nah.
"Oh, what's wrong?"
The thing,
Straight away.
what you're going to do is, I want to be with my family, and I know I'm frightened, and I'll be okay. Because the minute I'm scared, I'm off. Or the minute I'm threatened with using or something that will hurt me, I forgot to put my pants on, I have to go home. Anything. My bum's on fire, I've got to find some water. It doesn't matter if they laugh at you, you are protecting yourself.
Yeah.
And the motto of the butterfly is, I need no one and no thing. I will choose who and what I have in my life, and I live my life with integrity, honour and compassion. But if I can't do it for me, I'm not doing it for anyone else. If you can't care for yourself, you distract yourself by caring for other people. I did it all my life. I'm helping poor heroin addicts. What about my traumas? Oh, I haven't got time for that. That's what a mother does. You need me time. You've got a lot of children. And if you can't get me time, hide in the toilet.
I used to say that. That's still going on.
Wonder how I knew. I could never find my wife. She was always hiding in the toilet. That's where addiction has taken us. That you now have a damaged reward system, a damaged amygdala, and locus ceruleus it's called, the panic center. So protect yourself. You look in the mirror and think, I'm like other people. No, you're not. And you're never going to be like other people.
More special.
Thank you. You have to be truthful to yourself. And don't trust other people. Ever. Negotiate with people. It's not once an addict, always an addict. But once you've done this,
That's such a
you can never be like straight people and go, oh well. The minute you pretend you're okay, this thing starts connecting to your past. And before you know it, you want to use.
Yeah.
Like it takes... I remember some guys telling me, I've been straight for 3 or 4 months, then all of a sudden I feel like using. It's because you've bullshitted to yourself. Okay, you can't. Straight people, you can say, oh well. No, I will. It hurt. So I'll give it 90 seconds, any more than that, and that's wallowing. Oh, poor me.
Oh my God.
90 seconds. Then go and distract yourself. Go and do something. And never, ever be lazy.
Yeah.
Because we're prone to be lazy.
Yeah, I love stress cleaning. I love it. I have this house down pat. In the morning, 18.
Well, that's a version of, that's... I've got an eye shoes, and the minute she walks in, once she pulls the blinds down because someone's following her. But she has to clean everything. It's a kind of, leave the fucking thing alone. I have to move everything and clean everything up. I like a little bit of dirt.
Yeah.
So, it's not once an addict, always an addict.
Yeah.
But you've done damage that says from here on in, I cannot lie to myself. And the big word you have to do is I have to honour myself by caring and respecting my vulnerability. You respect it, not other people. And through your vulnerability, you'll get stronger and stronger and stronger. And after a while, you'll smile at the bullshit.
Yeah.
It won't hurt so much.
I don't love it, but I have good laugh at it.
Yeah.
It's like humour to me.
I love humour.
Yeah.
Yesterday at the hub, some of the people are very demanding. It says, "You don't have any sausages." And I said, "No, and I don't have any motorbikes, helicopters." She didn't hear me, but the lady said it, so I just wet herself. See, that's how I deal. Instead of getting angry that she's demanding, I'm saying, "You're right, I haven't got any sausages, I haven't got any motorbikes, I haven't got it."
Yeah, even my kids, like, when they'll fall over on bitumen or something, I'll be like, "Oh, mate," they'll be crying, "Mum, I broke my head." And I'm like, "Look what you did to the ground, look at me cracking it."
I remember that.
Oh.
Yeah, I remember being told that and looking for the hole.
Because you don't have endorphins, you have to find the balance.
Yeah.
That's exactly what you do with your kids. No matter what happens, find something in it that's beauty.
And they fight over a toy, give them one,
It's
and
balance.
both at the same,
And it's,
yeah.
Rumi says, the minute you allow loss into your heart, you make more room for joy. And I like that. But in other words, what he's saying is, if you become like a child and truthful, no, I don't like these peas. I don't care if they're good for me, because children's brains haven't developed good or bad or right or wrong. It's good for them, but they don't want it. By the time they're 7, we've taught them how to not be innocent.
Yeah.
And that's sad. So we get our innocence back. Now, you may have to learn to be lonely.
Yeah.
Do you get it?
Yeah.
Because until someone really connects with you, but you're not ready to connect, you connect with you first, so you're strong enough to connect.
Yeah.
Love someone by all means, but don't rely on them.
Even my kids know I love God, even for them, like, for me to better myself, like, because I've been religious with their dad's, religion, so it's just something that has helped me to cope, especially through our separation.
Yeah.
So it's, and it's made me focus on me.
Well, when I was in the prison, I used to have this young lady who'd come and see me. And after about 10 months, she said, "I'm not coming to see you anymore." And I said, "Why? Have I upset you? What have I done?" Good old Catholic guilt. She said, No. I've learnt that I am enough. Wow.
Yeah.
Not good enough, not strong enough, enough.
Yeah.
That's endorphins. You don't have to, it's not a competition. You don't have to win. You don't have to lose. You just have to be. It's about living.
Yeah.
And the more you avoid the brain and I love this beautiful story, and I can't remember whether it's true or I made it up anymore, but it's a lovely story that I gave. When I used to go to Pentridge, this guy went right up to my nose and he said, "I hear you're a friendly person, but don't tell me you're my friend, I'll effing work it out." And I thought, wow, he's been hurt by words. I went to court for him and we became friends. And I went one day and he said to me, "Something amazing has happened today." And I said, "What happened?" He said, "I saw a mate coming in and he was hanging out. I only had one cigarette and I gave it to him. I now know I'm a friend." I know I'm a friend. I don't need my brain to tell me. I don't need other people to tell me. I know, because he lived his friendship. You live the words. Don't get fooled by words. The brain does. It's living. That's why we have to be different. We have to live and honour that we care and love. I can never love me. I can care for me. I can take care of me. I can look after me. I have to exercise. I have to eat well. Then it's up to the gods. But I've done everything I can, and I can look in the mirror and say, I've done that. The man in the mirror. There's an old saying, when you can look at the man in the mirror and say, you're old and ugly, but I trust you. That's it. Because you know you will honour your word and your values every time. No exception. I don't want to hurt anyone. I value freedom. I value friendship. I value compassion. And I'll live them. Are they honoured? Do people notice? That's not the point. I know. And when you become, this becomes your point of reference, the brain becomes your servant, not your master. The moment it's your master, it tells you you're not good enough and you should try harder. And let's use drugs. It's too hard. Don't listen to it. Of course it's too hard. But I want something else. That's the big one. So it's not once an addict, always an addict. But once the butterfly has landed on the stone can never forget what it's like to know beauty. And so what it's like to know once an addict freedom by honouring yourself. Forget AA and NA. That's caring. It was wonderful when it was invented. Passion for you. Because people trusted in God. Are you making a change? It's not the point. It's not about outcomes. It's not about there is a God, but not the old-fashioned God. It's about living the moment. Okay.
Yeah.
Not the good or bad or right or wrong. I gave you choices. You just made better choices, monk. And that's what Buddhism is about. But it's all about all the mystics. Don't pray to me. They live their life. Prayer is a conversation with God. Yeah. They live their freedom. They live their beauty. I had a bad day, mate. And get into the habit, but I don't want you to do anything about it. When you see something beautiful, my party, and I'll cry when I want it, and become one with it. Because you soak it in. Because when you are with beauty, you're with your soul. When you are with music and poetry, one of the things that I quickly learnt is it's called victim mentality. I'd be okay if it wasn't for you. I'd be okay if I had 20 Twitter followers or whatever it is. Don't be a victim. There's an old saying on the wharf, and I used to work on the wharf. 5 guys bashing the crap out of you, get one punch in. Don't be their victim. You don't have to win the fight. Just respect yourself by getting one punch in. Yeah. Life comes at you, get a punch in. Fuck you. So, do you understand now about addiction? Yeah. You change the brain with these chemicals so your brain can use these drugs and alter your feelings. So the way back is learning how to feel again. But your brain, which does the mechanism of feeling, doesn't know how to do it properly. So you have to do it for 90 seconds and you have to start working on this. Now, if you're an ice user, the other thing that dopamine does is anticipation, like looking forward to Christmas, looking forward to birthdays. I'm looking forward to that glass of water, but I'm making myself wait. And I control my dopamine. You control your ice. It's called delayed gratification. They do it with autistic children. Yeah. They give them a plate of ice cream, no spoon. Yeah. They know it's coming, so they're controlling their dopamine. Yeah. See, I would have grabbed the bloody ice cream with my hands. Yeah.
Put your face in it.
I'm not autistic. Autistic is self, whatever. See, I didn't stop smoking at 50. I thought I'd never hang up a cigarette again. It was too much. I'm going to take it up again in 92, which is next year. So I didn't have to deal with the loss of smoking. I just put it off. Yeah. See, children don't understand time. So I gave it to my right hemisphere. He hasn't stopped smoking. Is he going to take it up? See, children don't understand time. So we go to the beach in a week and they say, how many sleeps is that? They don't know time. So a year later. You're not playing that conflict game. I shouldn't feel like using. Of course you feel like using. That's the truth. I don't want to use. That's the truth. It's not a very strong voice, so I have to learn. It's like learning to play the piano. You practice. You don't sit in front of the piano saying, one day I'm going to play a concert. Well, practice the bloody thing. Practice how to feel again.
Yeah.
Don't be frightened of feelings, but only 90 seconds. You get this idea of addiction now?
Yeah.
It's not once an addict, always an addict. But it's like the guys who went to war. They don't want to remember it. They just value life again. Okay, learn from your experience. Learn what you value. Working with addiction, I value freedom and independence. My children kept saying when I got out of hospital, we're looking for a home for you. I think, you go live in it, I'm not going there. I've got a gutter in Chapel Street I'm going to lie on. I'm going to become homeless. Try and find me. I want to be independent. Because I was brought up by a strict father and a Catholic church, and I grew up in that generation where you didn't have a choice, you were told how to live. I don't want anyone to tell me how to live. No matter how much you love me, it's my life. And I'm very committed to that. That's because of my experiences. I value freedom and independence more than anything. But I also value loving and belonging. So work out what you really value. It's taken me 80 years, nearly 90 years to learn. But find out who you really are. Straight people can pretend because of Facebook and all that other crap. It's too shallow. We have to go where it really belongs. So when you don't base it on the reward system, you base it on your heart and your soul, where love, beauty, freedom, honour live. You don't value what other people value. Possessions, things, status. Now don't forget to collect butterfly moments. Have a tin, have a box, because when you're feeling flat, and wow, I've had a couple of days where I was so flat. I've been so strict with my diet, I had no energy. But I just happened to be in Glenferrie Road and met some friends and we had a coffee, and that lifted me. I think my angels sent them there, whatever. But whenever you're flat, you go to your box. Just remember there are beautiful moments and moments of beauty in your life. And it will pass. This too will pass.